Users or clients? Take a moment to think, who is your software truly serving? Your users might be the ones engaging with it daily, teachers, finance managers, customer support representatives, but they are not the decision makers. They're usually the ones who give you the most feedback and feature requests. But today, we're going to explore why it's more important to focus on the client. Your client is the one who signs the contract and pays the bill. They're less vocal, harder to win over, but eventually they're the ones who decide whether your software stays or goes. To build a successful business, you need to cut through the noise and focus on delivering value to the one who truly matters, the client. How do you do it? Let's dive in. Welcome to Unipod, the podcast for all things management software. Today we are with Zakaria Mansour, which is the founder and CEO of B-Sport.
Thank you for welcoming me, Sharon.
Thank you for joining. I think our listeners will enjoy this call very much. So I just want to start with, a generic question. If you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to start a management software company.
Yep, sure thing. So, hi everyone. My name is Zakaria. I'm the CEO and co-founder of B-Sport. So, actually, as you can hear from my accent, I'm French, from Algerian parents, and I started to build B-Sport actually 6 years ago. So at the beginning, we started with a marketplace. So the idea was really to unlock the power of boutique fitness that was not really well known by the end customers. So we need to have a simple app for end customers to be able to book the best session at the right price, close to their place. And then we quickly pivoted to what we call a business in the box for this industry, because we actually understood on the more consulting side that the main issue for our clients was actually to be able to retain and cross-sell the clients, and the ERP that they had was mostly developed for gyms and not for boutique, which is a really different business model and operational difficulties, and that's why we decided to deep dive into this industry.
Okay, cool. So through this marketplace adventure, you recognize the gap in the industry. Does that
Exactly. Yeah, because actually we were pretty young when we started. I think, it was like six years ago, so 27. So we thought actually that the best product with the best offer will actually have, the best impact in the market. Unfortunately, marketplace is much more, especially when you're in the startup environment and VC backed, on how much you can burn money at the fastest way possible, and not really on how can you create value for the shareholders. So that's why we decided to pivot it really quickly into the ERP, and then deep diving into a full complete suite of operational management for our clients.
Cool. And what is really, I'm just curious, what is the difference between general gym? I think you had a distinction when you talked between gyms and boutique studios, right? You said something about
I think it's really, so two things. The first one is the business model. So gyms actually, the business model is like club management. So what they want is to have the maximum club members, but for them to come to the minimum of time, so that they can have as many customers as they can. Versus, I would say, the boutique, when actually it's a pay as you go. So you buy 1 class, 5 class, 10 class. So the business model is actually for clients to come as frequently as possible, to really use the credits that they have in stock, so that they are able to purchase another pass. So that's the main difference. The second one is really also in terms of the cross-selling opportunities that boutiques offer. So boutiques, they not only sell group classes, but also private classes, digital content, also products, and so on. So for the end user to have a global experience of the purchase abilities. And the third part is on terms of organizational and operational. So in boutique, actually, the teachers are freelance and they have, bonuses scheme in order to really fill up the gap of the class. Whereas in gyms, people are paid by the hour, so not really, incentivized to really grow the business. And same, in boutique, they are incentivized to sell more products and to renewing clients as much as they can by making them purchase another pass. When actually the business model, as I mentioned for gyms, it's really to lock the client for 1 year. Hopefully, the client will stay, but to really limit the interaction of, I would say, sleeping clients, so that they are not aware anymore that they are paying, for a monthly subscription. So really, a new way of seeing what sport can be and how people can consume sport.
Amazing. Wow, that's super interesting. It's really interesting how management software is like a very generic thing, and then when you drill down into it, every single business needs like different things. Like you said,
Exactly.
it's
And most importantly, actually, especially in terms of the boutique, that's really what people call, a niche in terms of the sport environment. And
yeah,
the idea of esports is actually to address that niche, like to go deep into the business need, the business operations, so that we are the best players in this industry.
awesome. Wow, that's really interesting. So I'll move on to the next question. In one sentence, what is B-Sport?
Yeah. So actually, Bsport is a business in a box for the boutique industry. So
Nice.
while for the mindset is really for our clients, they only need to use their computer and Bsport to manage their global business. So from payment to marketing to payroll to operations to customer relationship and so on and so forth.
Do you see when businesses choose a management software, do you see them using all these kinds of features that you just mentioned, all these aspects of the management software?
Yeah, so it really depends on the life cycle of the boutique. So either it has been developed by someone that is really tech sensitive, and they know that they are going to lose a lot of time in operations if they have different tools or if they do it manually. So they go directly, for a business in the box tool. Although they are much more cost sensitive, but in the way that they don't want to spend a lot at the beginning for the software. So they start with, I would say, a management tool that is quite common, for all the type of
Oh,
industries.
yeah.
And then because they feel a lot of friction of missed opportunity, they switch actually to a business in the box. So it really depends, on the mindset of the client and where in their life of business they are starting.
Okay, I get it. So you see a lot of migration from generic management software to your management software when they see the need for their specific niche.
Exactly. So actually the mindset, so today we have more than 70% that is replacement. So 70% that of our clients that already had the platform and switching. And I would say the go-to-market is pretty simple. Is really to understand, we know exactly for each one of the platform they are using, because, it's been 4 years that we are in the industry, what are the daily pain points and missed opportunities that they have. So either they believe that is the right time to actually invest in the software to have the ROI actually in their business, or if they are, I would say, financially constrained, that might not be the right time, but it will be in the future.
Hmm. Okay, nice. So you really have a good view of the market right now, and
Exactly.
mhm. Okay, nice, interesting. Um, yeah. So I saw on LinkedIn that you recently raised 30 million euros, right? An,
Exactly.
an impressive, yeah, an impressive milestone, I think. So can you take us, our listeners, through your journey into achieving this milestone, and yeah, how
Yeah.
did you do that basically?
Yeah, so we started to launch the company early 2020, so around 4 years ago. So actually, we move from kind of zero MRR AR to more than 10 million today,
Wow.
while only raising less than 5 million. So the mindset in the company is really to be cash efficient, especially with the money from investors, and to show this type of traction that allowed us actually to raise 30 million at a pretty good valuation, and also by being oversubscribed for this round, because there is not a lot of companies in the world that is allowed to do three things. First of all, to have burn ratio that makes sense. So today we are at 0.4 burn ratio, when the industry, especially in SMB, is much more around 1.5, 2. So being 5 to 6 times more efficient than comparables. The second thing also that is really difficult in SMB is to be cross markets, especially in Europe. So to have a good presence in France, UK, Netherlands, DACH, Southern Europe, and also a go-to-market in the US. So that was also something that was really impressive for investors. And the third part, and maybe we will deep dive a bit more into that, is especially on VSaaS, cohorts of clients actually increase, meaning that thanks to the multiple products that we can sell to our clients, but also the payments that actually grow with the business, we are allowed to show NRR above 110, so which led us actually to be, I would say, in the top 1% in terms of SaaS SMB, and that allowed us actually to raise money pretty quickly, without much difficulties.
Wow. Yeah, that's super impressive. So can you dive into that a bit deeper?
So, in which part exactly?
The part of payments and being and having multi products for
Yeah.
vertical SaaS.
Yeah, so in VSaaS, actually, that's not new. In VSaaS, companies actually have been working since the beginning, when they master payments, to have payments in their mix in terms of revenue. At Bsport, actually, we never sold payments, meaning that we are selling software first. We added, the payment layer, but we never worked actually on how we can renegotiate actually with our payment provider and increase our take rate with our payment provider. So that was the work done in the last 2 years to really understand, the pricing point that makes sense for our clients. So funny enough, actually, we are, from our competition, the lowest pricing point in the market.
The
So
low.
even pricing for our clients. So for example, we charge less compared to our competition, but we worked a lot in terms of increasing the volume of payment going through the platform by adding actually new payment features, by adding new payment provider into the platform, but also renegotiating our contract with our payment partner. So that's the first in terms of payment. The second is we ship features at a high pace, meaning that we are able actually to deep dive into different operational difficulties from our clients. So I can name two that we did over the last 6 months. The first one is how to substitute a teacher when the teacher can't come to the class.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was really hard actually for our clients, to be able to manage that. So what they did is that they canceled the class, so losing a lot of revenue. What we developed is a single button that actually allows to connect with all the teachers that they have that makes sense for the class,
Oh,
and being able to replace the class really easily. So, that's the first. A second one that we did is the retention tool, that we deep dive into all the key element points of the life cycle of the client, to be able actually not to send an email 30 days after the last class, what can do most of our competition, but really to see what typology of clients that we have, and to be able to prevent churn actually from our clients, and not actually to be able to recoup those clients when they already churn. So that's also the second tool. So really going one step forward in terms of how we can address operational and financial difficulties from our clients.
wow. Cool. I really like these features. And it really sounds like you focus on, you really hear your customers, you know really what they want, what they need. This is like very specific features, and you focus on the experience, I would say, with the management software, and that's what makes it sticky and increases your revenue.
Yeah,
Is
and actually, we even go one step further, meaning that what we do is because we have this consultative approach, we are not only just listening to what our clients are asking for us, but really understanding, on their operation. So we spend time in the studio. We kind of, sending 1 or 2 employees really to understand exactly their business needs, so that we're like, okay, you never thought that it was possible. We are able actually to limit the time that you spend on this or that particular operation. So, the idea is not to being kind of having the list of demands of our clients, but really to focus on what they need and what really make, move the needle in their businesses.
Wow, nice. So what I think I understand, but can you explain more in your words what is a consultative approach? You said that earlier.
Yeah. So actually, and it's always the case, with SMB, they are, they know what they want, but they don't know what they need. And that's, kind of the SMB way. It's kind of the people way in general, in B2C. We know what we want, but we don't know what we need.
I can, I
And
can assure you that I also meet this approach in my personal life, not only in business.
exactly. So because SMB and especially VSMB, they are more B2C, than enterprise. And that's, this type of approach that we are not here to only, and it's really important to have the feedback from our clients, but we are here also to find the next step and actually how we can make their life easier. So focusing on what they need.
Amazing. I think that for management software companies that are starting or leaders that want to start their journey and actually in business in general, I think that's an important approach. Like not only listening, like you said, but really um, understanding their day-to-day life and thinking how they can move the needle for them. And
Exactly.
cool. So I found another cool thing on your LinkedIn. You mentioned somewhere that if you had to sum up your career in one song, it would be "Make It Happen" by Mariah Carey. So
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
and yeah, so I just wanted to ask you why you resonate so much with this song and
Yeah, actually, I listen to this song every time I feel like I can't make it because of overthinking or because of only focusing on the potential negativity of something. And my mindset and the mindset, in the company is also, if I can sum up it differently, when there is a will, there is a way. Meaning that we are not here to wait for things to happen, but really pushing forward to make it happen, basically. And it can really, so how it's shown in the company, for example, one big example is a lot of people say that outbound sales in VSaaS on SMB, it's not worth trying because the annual revenue from a client is too low. Like that's kind of the big principle. Under 10K per year per client, the outbound motion with SDR and AE can't work, in a financial state. So that's why, we are the only one in the market to do outbound sales. And actually, we make it happen. We make it happen, meaning that even though it's harder because it's more people intensive, it's harder than, simply inbound. It's because we know who are going to be our clients. We can have their direct contact. We know who they are. So let's take the phone and let's smile and dial, as I can say, and get in front of the clients. And that's, something that is a bit lost in the startup environment when we like, okay, let's focus on marketing, paid ads, and so on. I do believe that's important, to have this type of content management, paid ads, and so on. But especially when you have limited resources, nothing beats taking the phone and the white paper and just to call the potential client that you want to have.
wow, yeah, I think that's super interesting. And I come from marketing, and sometimes you want magic to happen with paid ads, and yeah, and but I totally get you. I mean, Smile and Dial is I like that one. I'm gonna use it because yeah, sometimes the old is the best. The old approach,
Exactly.
best approach. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Um, so yeah, this is a more of an inspiring question. The fitness industry, like every industry, rapidly evolved with AI and automation. So, um, how, if at all, this affected B Sport and your leadership?
Yeah, so actually AI, so a lot of people are doing AI, but not a lot of people are doing it. So actually AI in the company is divided in two ways. The first is internal. We use AI actually to leverage the potential of all the contact points that we have with our clients. So what is good with AI is actually you can automate a lot of less value added interaction with your clients, and really to focus, on the value added that you can have with your clients in defining their business. So that's the first thing that we do. The second thing for clients is, and actually the boutique is really ripe for innovation, is one of the only business that you don't have yield management in terms of pricing. So basically everyone is paying kind of the same depending on what pass they are using, but you don't have dynamic pricing actually, where actually you are able to pay at a lower price, a lower field studios and so on. And I think that the power was taken by the marketplaces. So companies like Gymlib, ClassPass, Urban Sport Club, WellHub, and so on, that is using actually yield management to be able to fill the class of their partners. But I do believe that studios also can use actually dynamic pricing to be able to actually maximize the revenue of the studio.
Okay, so how is this dynamic pricing related to AI?
So it's really related. So it's a part of AI called machine learning. So AI, you have different types of, you have LLM, machine learning, computer vision. So it's really, so that's why we don't call it AI, but really machine learning that is older than both of us, I will say.
Okay.
But it's put in the AI environment of automating and defining a maximum of potential of our client.
Okay, nice. And do you use it also, you said also internally, so with your team, do you also encourage them to use it in their day-to-day work? How is it
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
side?
So actually, so actually we have three important departments in our company. So you have sales, customer service, and tech. So in sales, actually we use AI to really understand how clients are interacting, and where is the biggest potential that we can show value to our clients. In customer service, as I mentioned, is really to limit the non-valuable interaction that they have with their clients, so that they can really, focus time to understand the client business and help them in this way. And on the technical side is really on the debug, or really to read the code that is developed by coders to have automatic debug of the new development that they're doing.
Nice. Okay, so it's across all departments.
Exactly.
Nice. So I saw B Sport is ranked 5 stars on Capterra, right? And I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think are the key drivers that led you to this milestone?
So yeah, so actually it's in the two things. So three things actually. First of all, in terms of the client that we address, we are pretty selective, in terms of the client that we address. We don't Salespeople are not selling to sell. They
Mm,
are really selling to people that we can deliver value.
mm,
And that's why, in terms of the clients that we have, they really are, the ICP of the
mm,
clients that we want for the company. The second thing is, as I mentioned, a pretty good account management team. So the idea is not to be focused on the sport part. And actually, that's something really funny in the sports. Saying that you lack sport when you want to work in B-sport, that's a red flag. Meaning that here we are working in the sport industry, but we are here to deliver financial and operational value for clients. And that's why, account management are really have, really this type of mindset of, okay, that is the basic of your business, how we can help you optimize it. And the third part is on the tech and product. As I mentioned, we deliver features really fast. And I would say compared to our competition, what we do is that we have a business in a box tool. So when we replace the ERP that our clients are using, we not only replace the ERP, but the full tech stack they are using around this ERP, marketing tool, payroll tool, financials, and so on and so forth. So for them, is like we never knew that something like that is possible because we are used to use multiple software. So when they come, they really have a complete and simple to use software for their businesses, so that they really can focus on the business and especially on attending their clients.
Yeah. And so your first point was very interesting to me. What happens, for example, if a customer comes to you and he's not exactly in your ICP? Like, how are you so selective, and do you think aren't you tempted sometimes to just say yes to everyone that wants to buy your software?
Yeah. So actually, we don't, because the idea, as I mentioned, we want to grow with our clients, and especially growing our offering with our clients. And so, if they are not fitting, the complete suite that we want to offer them, at the end, the financial are not here. So it can be good, for the top line, but then the churn is high. And because you invest the same amount of time from CSM, so my cost is the same. So what is really good in the company, especially from the management team, is that we make one between sales and customer service. So meaning that everybody's working for the same, delivering the highest value for clients, and not having the highest new MRR and so on. So that's real work done by my head of marketing, head of sales, and head of CSM, is really to kind of blacklist clients that don't make sense. So, for example, our software can be used, for spa or hairdresser and so on, because we are doing also private booking. That's a no-go in terms of sales. Even though they want the platform, we're like, okay, you don't fit our ICP. So we know that it's going to be. We know that there are better software in the market than us to be able to manage your business.
Wow. That's shocking, actually. So this is a really extreme approach, I think, to prefer quality over quantity, I would say.
Yeah, because I would say no. So in the long term, especially when you have 30 million plus AR, you can allow to have non-ICP. When you are still at the beginning, and you want to do 2x, 3x per year, your clients are your first actually ambassadors. So actually having one bad experience with a client actually make you lose 10 other clients, whereas having one good experience with a client will help you win 7 more clients. So here it's really busy, basic math, I would say, meaning that we are not expecting ROI in the or top line in the short term. We are thinking, about middle term or long term, and that's why we are pretty picky in terms of the client that we want to deliver. The second thing is also because our software actually can be used with people making less than 70k, 80k a year private coach. Actually, we refuse them, and especially because we have a high price in terms of platform. So we are here to really deliver software, and not having this type of freemium mentality, or you start slow and then you have high payment fees. The idea is that we are pretty straightforward and honest, in terms of what do we address, what service do we offer, and how do we charge.
And was it like this from the beginning? You knew exactly where you're going, what's your ICP, what is your no-go, what
Yeah. So because at the beginning I was the only one doing sales and customer service, from the first 100 clients.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, I really understood, what was, and especially, when you don't want to sell and to manage client expectation afterwards, you are really, really careful on what you sell. And actually, since the beginning, because we really scale post COVID. So during the COVID, we are the only one
What
put
did you say? Sorry, you really scale what?
scale during the COVID period. So early March, that's where actually the scaling of the company happened, and we were the only one to put live streaming and video on demand on the platform. And during this time, I
Oh,
had to
cool.
refuse. Yeah, I had to refuse a lot of clients because they wanted to have only live streaming or video on demand business. They were not brick and mortar business. They wanted to ride the wave, from that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend time to onboard them, train them, and so on, so that when COVID is not a thing anymore, they will churn. And that's why, I refuse a lot of clients saying, so we offer that, but my business is not focused on that. We are working with, I would say, a real studio. So people that have, a real activity. So there is, other software, like TrueScreen or other that can help you on that, but that won't be my business.
Wow. Okay, impressive. I think that, I talk to founders and I think that this approach is pretty unique because especially at the beginning, you are so eager to sell. So you sell to whoever comes to your, to your front door. But it seems like you have a very strict approach since the beginning and it pays off, right?
Yeah. And also, especially in terms of what you said about, yeah, you need cash in the bank. We also refused big franchises when we needed to do a lot of custom development. So the idea was not for us to be a tech agency for a big chain, even though it's a big client, and we are aware of the revenue. We want to sell an off-the-shelf SaaS, and that's why we never did custom integration or custom development, because and also, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but we have seen that with other companies, other competition, that was like, okay, let's develop something for 200, 300 location, big franchise in gym. And you see that, okay, they can make things happen the first year, the second year, and then they don't scale. Why? Because the software is not made for the market. The software is made for a client.
Hmm. Interesting. Nice. Okay, I like the approach. And yeah, and I think it's a pretty unique perspective. So yeah, I think that brings me to the last question. What advice would you give to our listeners, young entrepreneurs in the management software field that looking to, enter the field or scale in the field? What would you recommend them?
Yeah. So the first thing is, don't mix users and clients. A lot of people actually are just focusing, on the users and the user experience. So in my case, is the B2C, the end user, because that, I would say, they are the most, I would say, vocal ones in terms of feedback. But really stay focused on your clients' need and delivery, because they are the decision making, and they are the one deciding to use another software. So I can see that a lot of people focus on users when actually the focus should be done mostly in clients, and just to cut through the noise of, I would say, positive or negative feedback. On the
What is the difference? What is the difference between them, users
Yeah,
and?
because, like, for example, our client is the studio owner. That's our client. We are here to answer their needs. But you can have different type of users. So can have teachers that are also users of the software. You
Okay.
can have end users also, like clients that go to the gym that can have feedback. Those feedback are interesting, but they shouldn't be your focus when you develop your software. Your only focus is the one actually signing the contract and making the checks. And I know it can be hard for founders, because they are the less vocal one, but they are the one that you need to deliver the most value to.
Oh, nice one. Okay.
So that's the first thing. And the second, especially in visas, and that's something I learned, especially in the Serie B, there is no limit in terms of increasing the revenue per client, meaning that actually when you deep dive into one niche, your ACV is actually the full cost of your clients, not only the software that they use, but actually all the costs that they have linked to their business. So you can save them a lot of money by just deep diving into all the costs and optimizing a lot of their costs. I've met people developing visas for coffee shop, some people developing visas for pizza parlor, and they can increase the ACV from 3K to more than 15K on the same clients. So meaning that once you're laser focused in one niche, deep dive into this niche, offer them a complete operational suite from financing to operationals to stock management and so on and so forth. And don't get distracted by, okay, you need to increase your TAM. Actually, you can have a TAM in a niche as small as 300,000 potential clients.
And can you explain ACV?
See, it's the annual customer value. So meaning that how much you charge a client on a yearly basis. So a lot of time you're like, okay, our clients can spend not more than 1% or 2% of their revenue in software. But actually, when you're doing VSaaS and you deep diving into the operational need of the clients, it can go until the end of their P&L. Meaning that you can really touch in a lot of their points and offer them actually a digitalization of a lot of their points. So, for example, let's take one big example is if they need an assistant to manage, the booking of the clients or the payments, you can really cut through this cost or optimize this cost by offering them, a software that automatize this. So you can really go really deep into the customer P&L and not as I would say that was the old way of thinking about software, saying, okay, a company can't only spend more than 5% of their revenue in software. That's kind of the cap that you have. Actually, with VSaaS, you can really deep dive much more into the operational lead of your clients.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that the value of the software can be so much higher than what the customer expects or thinks.
Exactly.
So return on the investment is so big that they can invest more than what they thought initially because the return will be so high.
Exactly that. Because actually, that's the first time actually. I think it's been 5 years more or less. Then you have really an increase of VSaaS and people saying, okay, I want to develop a software for pizza parlor. So before it was no, I want to develop software for the restaurant industry and that's it. So really, people saying, okay, for pizza parlor, I want to be their operational tools, but really focusing on every step of their business. And that's the first time that investors also see a lot of value in that because then you decrease the barrier to entry for other players that are more, globally thinking about an industry, and you can really increase also the ACV of your clients.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's links to the reason why I see always sub verticals and sub verticals and sub verticals because
Exactly.
being so specific can make such a huge return on investment. So even if your customer base is smaller or your TAM is smaller, like you said, the potential is still huge.
Exactly.
I think for our listeners, it's also good to highlight that what you said about management software in general is that the value can be so big, and so this is a very important decision. It's not like okay, we need the software, let's try something. It's really something that's going to impact your business.
Yeah, and to find the right partners, and that's also our job, also from the sales to customer service, to really make our clients understand the value of having, a global operating tool, and not just to I would say save around the corners to save a bit of money because the impact is much higher in their global business. So that's also why we have people to be able to explain to our clients why it's important to invest in software.
Amazing. I think that's a great point to end the recording. So thank you to our listeners.